Namaste Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nishtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 16, a description of Jambudvip, text number 9 onwards. So translation. Similarly, south of Ilavrit Varsha and extending from east to west are three great mountains named from north to south, Nishad, Hemakut, and Himalaya. Each of them is 10,000 yojans, 80,000 miles high. They mark the boundaries of the three Varshas named Hari Varsha, Kimpurush Varsha, and Bharat Varsha, India. Now somebody will say, Himalaya is not 80,000 miles high. It's only, what, I don't know, what's the height of the Himalayas. So Prabhupada at one place, he did explain that the rest of it is in the subtle way. So whatever we see the growth, the subtle way, the subtle mountain height is 80,000 miles, right? That's what the scriptures say. I just Google search. So Himalaya is 7,200 meters, 7.2 kilometers high. So that is pretty high though, but not 80,000 miles. But it has to be then subtle that we cannot see it. Text 10. In the same way, west and east of Ilavrit Varsha are two great mountains named Malyavan and Gandhamadhan, respectively. These two mountains, which are 2,000 yojans, 16,000 miles high, extend as far as the Nila mountain in the north and Nishad in the south. They indicate the borders of Ilavrit Varsha and also the Varsha known as Ketumal and Bhadrashva. There are so many mountains, even on this planet Earth. We do not think that the measurement of all of them have actually been calculated. While passing over the mountainous region from Mexico to Caracas, we actually saw so many mountains that we doubt whether their height, length, and breadth have been properly measured. Therefore, as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami, we should not try to comprehend the greater mountainous areas of the universe merely by our calculations. Shukadeva Goswami has already stated that such calculations would be very difficult, even if one had a duration of life like that of Brahma. We should simply be satisfied with the statements of authorities like Shukadeva Goswami and appreciate how the entire cosmic manifestation has been made possible by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The measurements given herein, such as 10,000 yojans or 100,000 yojans, should be considered correct because they have been given by Shukadeva Goswami. Our experimental knowledge can neither verify nor disapprove the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. We should simply hear these statements from the authorities. If we can appreciate the extensive energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that will benefit us. Otherwise, if we want to doubt, yes, we can have our doubts. But the doubts, first of all, then we will start doubting everything in Bhagavatam, whatever Bhagavatam says. So we'll start doubting whatever Shukadeva Goswami is speaking. And And by then we'll start doubting the potency of Krishna himself. There, these these figures are inconceivable. There's no doubt, but these are inconceivable. We cannot even understand all this. But this is what, just simply be satisfied. This is what Prabhupada said. Just simply be satisfied with the statements of authorities like Shukdev Goswami. Text 11. On the four sides of the great mountains known as Sumeru are four mountains, Mandar, Meru Mandar, Suparshva, and Kumud, which are like its belts. The length and height of these mountains are calculated to be 10,000 yojans. Text 12. Standing like flagstaffs on the summits of these four mountains are a mango tree, a rose apple tree, a gadamba tree, and a banyan tree. Now that's another thing. Four mountains. So why a mango tree, a rose apple tree, kadamba tree, and a banyan tree? Well, this is how Krishna likes it. So he created like that. And look at the trees. Those trees are calculated to have a width of 100 yojans. So the width is 800 miles wide, the diameter of the trunk of the trees, and a height of 1100 yojans, 8800 miles. Their branches also spread to a radius of 1100 yojans. Wow. Just imagine a mango tree that huge. So how big the mango fruits must be. That'll be something we would like to eat. Text 14. O Maharaj Parikshit, best of the Bharat dynasty, between these four mountains are four huge lakes. The water of the first tastes just like milk, the water of the second like honey, and that of the third like sugarcane juice. The fourth lake is filled with pure water. The celestial beings such as Siddhas, Charans, and Gandharvas, who are also known as demigods, enjoy the facilities of these four lakes. Consequently, they have the natural perfections of mystic yoga, such as the power to become smaller than the smallest or greater than the greatest. There are also four celestial gardens named Nandan, Chaiturath, Vaibhrajak, and Sarvatobhadra. Text 15. The best of the demigods, along with their wives, who are like ornaments of heavenly beauty, meet together and enjoy within those gardens, while their glories are sung by lesser demigods known as Gandharvas. So Siddhas, Charans, Gandharvas, they all enjoy over there in those lakes. Text 16. On the lower slopes of Mandar mountain is a mango tree named Devachyuta. It is 1100 yojans high. Mangoes as big as mountain peaks and as sweet as nectar fall from the top of this tree for the enjoyment of the denizens of heaven. That is mango. And see, the height of the tree is exactly given 1100 yojans. It doesn't say 1000 yojans. He could have said that. Who's going to go there and measure it? But Shukdev Goswami is exactly saying whatever it is. 1100 yojans high mango tree. In the Vayu Puran, there is also reference to this tree by great learned sages. Aratninam Shatani Astao Eka Shashti Adhikani Cha Phala Pramanam Akyatam Rishibis Tattva-darshibi. So Rishibis Tattva-darshibi, those who have seen the truth, they see it and they are explaining it. Text 17. When all those solid fruits fall from such a height, they break, and the sweet, fragrant juice within them flows out and becomes increasingly more fragrant as it mixes with other scents. That juice the mango juice, cascades from the mountains in waterfalls and becomes a river called Arunoda, which flows pleasantly through the eastern side of Ilavan. Text 18. The pious wives of the Yakshas act as personal maidservants to assist Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva. Because they drink the water of the river Arunoda, their bodies become fragrant. And as the air carries away that fragrance, it perfumes the entire atmosphere for 80 miles around. We cannot imagine all this. It's difficult. Even Lord Rishabdev, when he was passing stool and urine, he would made everything aromatic 80 miles around. But here, the mango juice is making everything fragrant. Text 19. Similarly, the fruits of the jambu tree, which are full of pulp and have very small seeds, fall from great height and break to pieces. Those fruits are the size of elephants, and the juice gliding from them becomes a river named Jambu Nadi. This river falls a distance of 10,000 yojans from the summit of Meru Mandar to the southern side of Ilavrit and floods the entire land of Ilavrit with juice. Now there is jambu seeds or jamun, what is known as jamun, and that's why it's called Jambu Dweep. We can only imagine how much juice there might be in a fruit that is the size of an elephant, but has very tiny seed. Naturally, the juice from the broken jambu fruits forms waterfalls and floods the entire land of Ilavrit. That juice produces an immense quantity of gold, as will be explained in the next verses. Text 20-21. The mud on both the banks of the river Jambu Nadi, being moistened by the flowing juice and then dried by the air and the sunshine, produces huge quantities of gold called Jambu Nad. The denizens of heaven use this gold for various kinds of ornaments. Therefore, all the inhabitants of the heavenly planets and the youthful wives are fully decorated with golden helmets, bangles, and belts, and thus they enjoy life. So this jambu juice, dried by the air and the sunshine, so somehow it produces huge amounts of gold. By the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the rivers on some planets produce gold on their banks. The poor inhabitants of this earth, because of the incomplete knowledge, are captivated by a so-called Bhagwan, who can produce a small quantity of gold. And we all know who Prabhupada is talking about. However, it is understood that in a higher planetary system, in this material world, the mud on the banks of the Jambu Nadi mixes with jambu juice, reacts with the sunshine in the air, and automatically produces huge quantities of gold. Thus, the men and women are decorated there by various golden ornaments, and they look very nice. Unfortunately, on earth, there is such a scarcity of gold that the governments of the world try to keep it in reserve and issue paper currency. Because that currency is not backed up by gold, the paper they distribute as money is worthless. But nevertheless, the people on earth are very proud of material advancement. So this paper, and nowadays even the paper is gone, it's all digital. The bitcoins are getting famous now. The paper, it's all digital now. We just see the figures in our bank accounts and we get happy. Oh, I have that much money and I have that much. These are just figures. We don't have anything in our hands. And just money just changes, goes from one account to another, and that's it. And Prabhupada says, in modern times, the girls and the ladies have ornaments made of plastic instead of gold, and plastic utensils are used instead of gold ones. Yet people are very proud of their material wealth. Therefore, the people of this age are described as manda, sumanda, mandayo, mandabhagyahi, upadrata. In other words, they are extremely bad and slow to understand the opulence of the Supreme Personality of God. They have been described as sumanda matya because their conceptions are so crippled that they accept a bluffer who produces a little gold to be God. Because they have no gold in their possession, they are actually poverty stricken, and therefore they are considered unfortunate. And we, on top of it, we don't want to believe in Srimad Bhagavatam, with it says there is a river, on the banks of the river is just gold, full of huge quantities of gold. Sometimes these unfortunate people want to be promoted to the heavenly planets to achieve fortunate positions as described in this verse. But pure devotees of the Lord are not at all interested in such opulence. Indeed, devotees sometimes compare the color of gold to that of bright golden stool. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed devotees not to be allured by golden ornaments and beautifully decorated women. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. A devotee should not be allured by gold, beautiful women, or the prestige of having many followers. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore confidentially prayed, Mam Janmani Janmanishwari. My Lord, please bless me with your devotional service. I do not want anything else. A devotee may pray to be delivered from this material world. That is his only aspiration. The humble devotee simply prays to the Lord, kindly pick me up from this material world, which is full of varieties of material opulence, and keep me under the shelter of your lotus feet. Means the devotee is praying that, on my own, I don't have any power to cling on to your lotus feet. You please pick me up and keep me under the shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Narottam Das Thakur prays, O my Lord, O son of Nand Maharaj, now you are standing before me with your consort, the daughter of Rishabhanu, Srimati Radharani. Kindly accept me as a dust of your lotus feet. Please do not kick me away, for I have no other shelter. Similarly, Prabodhanand Saraswati indicates that the position of the demigods who are decorated with golden helmets and other ornaments is no better than a phantasmagoria. A devotee is never allured by such opulences. He simply aspires to become the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. And actually, the opulence of the dust of the lotus feet of the God, not just the opulence of the dust, opulence of just a speck of dust of lotus feet of the Lord is more than the opulence of all the heavenly planets, all the Vaikuntha planets combined. That's how opulent it is. Text 22. On the side of Suparshva mountain stands a big tree called Mahakadamba, just very celebrated. From the hollows of this tree flow 5 rivers of honey, each about 5 vyamas wide. What is a vyama? That we'll see. This flowing honey falls incessantly from the top of Suparshva mountain and flows all around Ilavritvarsha, beginning from the western side. Thus the whole land is saturated with the pleasing fragrance. The distance between one hand and another one spreads both his arms is called a vyam. This comes to about 8 feet. Thus, each of the rivers was about 40 feet wide, 5 vyam, making a total of about 200 feet. 200 feet wide river, or 5 rivers of 40 feet wide, full of honey. Wow. Text 23. The air carrying the scent from the mouths of those who drink that honey perfumes the land for 100 yojans around. Next verse, text 24. Similarly, on the Kumud mountain, there is a great banyan tree, which is called Shatvalsha, because it has 100 main branches. From those branches comes many roots from which many rivers are flowing. These rivers flow down from the top of the mountain to the northern side of Ilavarsha for the benefit of those who live there. Because of these flowing rivers, all the people have ample supplies of milk, yogurt, honey, clarified butter, ghee, molasses, food grains, clothes, bedding, sitting places, and ornaments. All the objects they desire are sufficiently supplied for their prosperity, and therefore they're very happy. The prosperity of humanity does not depend on a demoniac civilization that has no culture and no knowledge, but has only gigantic skyscrapers and huge automobiles always rushing down the highways. The products of nature are sufficient when there is a profuse supply of milk, yogurt, honey, food grains, ghee, molasses, dhotis, saris, bedding, sitting places, and ornaments. The residents are actually opulent. When a profuse supply of water from the river inundates the land, all these things can be produced and there will be no scarcity. This all depends, however, on the performance of sacrifice, as described in Vedic literature. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. These are the prescriptions given in Bhagavad Gita. If people follow these principles in full Krishna consciousness, human society will be prosperous and they will be happy both in this life and in the next. So beautiful, wonderful description of the universe is going on, and so many rivers on Shatvalsh, on the Kumud mountain with the great banyan tree, giving all sorts of necessities for all human beings. Text 26. There are other mountains beautifully arranged around the foot of Mount Meru, like the filaments around the whole of a lotus flower. Their names are Kurang, Kurar, Kusumb, Vekang, Trikut, Shishir, Patang, Ruchak, Nishad, Sinivas, Kapil, Shank, Vadurya, Jarudhi, Hansa, Rishab, Nag, Kalanjar, and Narad. Text 27. On the eastern side of Sumeru mountain are two mountains named Jathar and Devakut, which extend to the north and south for 18,000 yojans. Similarly, on the western side of Sumeru are two mountains named Pavan and Pariyatra, which also extend north and south for the same distance. On the southern side of Sumeru are two mountains named Kailash and Karavir, which extend east and west for 18,000 yojans. And on the northern side of Sumeru, extending for the same distance east and west, are two mountains named Trishring and Makar. The width and height of all these mountains is 2,000 yojans. Sumeru, a mountain of solid gold shining as brilliantly as fire, is surrounded by these 8 mountains. Text 28. In the middle of the summit of Meru is a township of Lord Brahma. Each of its 4 sides is calculated to extend for 10 million yojans. Wow. It is made entirely of gold, and therefore learned scholars and sages call it Shatkombhi. Text 29. Surrounding Brahmapuri in all directions are the residence of 8 principal governors of the planetary systems, beginning with King Indra. These abodes are similar to Brahmapuri, but are 1/4 the size. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms that the townships of Lord Brahma and the 8 subordinate governors of the planetary systems, beginning with Indra, are mentioned in other Puranas. Brahma's township is known as Manovati, and those of his assistants, such as Indra and Agni, are known as Amaravati, Tejovati, Shamyamni, Krishnagana, Krishnangana, Shudhavati, Gandhavati, Mahodaya, and Yashovati. Brahmapuri is situated in the middle, and all other 8 puris surround it in all directions. So thus ends the 16th chapter of 5th canto, a description of Jambudvip. So tomorrow we'll start the 17th chapter, the descent of the river Ganges. Beautiful, beautiful chapters and wonderful descriptions. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
I think we missed text 25 as well of this one reading today. But Prabhuji, tell me, all these creation that is there, it appears it is more to bind the people, create more attachments.
Well, it depends. Depends on the person. If he wants to go to heavenly planets, at least go enjoy over there. But those who want to be devotees, yes, it's not worth it.
Amazing. हमारे को तो प्रभु जी एक दूध की, एक घी का और एक हनी का नदी मिल जाए यहाँ पे, क्या बात है.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in Satyanarayan Katha, Panditji used to start with, that location and everything they say. So I used to remember, like, when we have Satyanarayan Kathas, they say, Jambu Deepe Bharat Khande, something like this. Is that Jambu Deep is like the entire earth or like the land areas?
Yes, this Jambu Dweep is a whole dweep, and in with the Bharat Khanda, that is Bharat. And then Shvetavaraha Kalpe, they say, in the time of Shvetavaraha. And then coming down and down and down, then exactly the person, wherever they're doing the puja.
Gotras and everything, yeah.
Yeah. So they want to make sure that the Lord knows who is performing the puja. I mean, for whom the puja is getting performed.
This is really scientific, Prabhuji. I mean, just covering from the location and then very specific to that person with the name, gotras and everything.
But it's amazing description. Amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.